Okay, can you all see the screen? Okay, sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little glitchy, but welcome everyone to our STEP 2023 program. Today is our very last transfer talk of the program. We are super excited to have you all joining us today and super excited to be meeting you all soon for our welcome day, which is coming up very soon. My name is Sarah, and I am the academic support coordinator at the Triton Transfer Hub. I
Cut out
am
for that piece, Sam, if you want to do your camera off, what you were mentioning before.
so sorry about that.
Much
Okay,
better.
I'll go ahead and reintroduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I am the academic support coordinator at the Triton Transfer Hub. For those of you who have not met with me, I provide academic support to transfers on things like adjustment tourism and management, building out any goals that you want to reach by the time that you graduate, or if you need help understanding how advising at UCSD works, or if you just want to chat and check in to see how your quarter is going so far, I am here for you. So I'm very excited to get to meet with hopefully all of you at some point. Before we begin today's session, I wanted to do a quick overview of what's left of the STEP program and what you can expect these next few weeks. So we're going to go ahead and start us off with a poll to gather your thoughts. So please go ahead and fill that out right now. We want to know what you are most interested in learning about at this point, as we are getting close to starting the fall quarter. So please feel free to go ahead and answer those questions. Definitely looking like a lot of you have questions on how to get around campus and where to park, getting advising support and what that looks like. Definitely a hot topic that's been very popular these past few weeks, especially with enrollment that just happened. A lot of you want to know what orientation is all about, how to get classes paid for, and then still some questions on how to get your transfer or your credits transferred over. So very valid interests and concerns. And then I do see a lot of you are also wondering what the quarter system is like, which is perfect given our topic for today. We will be going over what you can expect as we get closer to the quarter and some tools to set you up for success. Okay, perfect. Thank you all for filling out that poll. Okay, so I wanted to go over the final component of STEP, which is the transfer map activity. I'm super excited for this. This is basically a self-led activity that allows you to explore different involvements around campus and explore which extracurricular activities you see yourself being involved in throughout your time at UCSD. And so you'll notice, and we can share the link in the chat later, but your transfer map will allow you to, one, have access to you, for you to build out your academic plan. And given that enrollment just passed, at this point, you sort of have an idea of what you'll be taking this fall. So you'll have an idea of what time your classes will be and your academic schedule. So after you know that, you'll be able to do some research on whether you want to either be involved in clubs and orgs on campus or research, or if you have outside jobs and responsibilities outside of school, taking those into consideration. And so you'll be able to make an appointment with one of our peer coaches who will be able to walk you through your goals in terms of how you see your time at UCSD being, how you see yourself being involved throughout your time at UCSD. And so they'll be able to walk you through some of your time commitments and what will best fit your schedule and your commitments. And for those of you who do meet with a peer coach and complete the final portion of the transfer map, you'll have a chance to win a $10 reward in Triton Cash. So if that's not an incentive, we really hope that you all take advantage of this opportunity, and our peer coaches are more than happy to help you walk through this process. Our final event is the STEP Welcome Day, which will be happening September 27th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This will be a chance for us all to finally meet fully in person. We're going to have free food and some fun activities for you all. This will also be a chance for you to attend campus tours. So for those of you who already have your class schedules and have no idea where your class buildings are located at, bring that information with you, and we'll be able to walk you through where to find your classes so that you are prepared for the first day of school. And so this is just going to be a super exciting social for us to finally just come together and meet your peers that many of you have been seeing either virtually. So yeah, we're super excited to see you all within the next couple of weeks. And then just to recap, if you haven't been able to attend some of the transfer talks that have already happened, we do have the recordings posted on our website along with some cliff notes of what was covered. So, and if you have to leave today's session early, we will also be posting the recording as well. And on our STEP page, you can find the contact information from some of our past guest speakers as well. And just anything else that you might have missed, you can find on there, as well as getting connected to some of the other subcomponents that maybe some of you have not been able to participate in. Okay, so today's topic, we will be covering adjusting to the quarter system. And so as we are getting closer to fall quarter starting, I think this is like the perfect time for us to review what to expect and how to set yourself up for success. And so I will be passing it over to our guest speakers for today, Maggie and Marie, who will be diving deeper on some strategies and tools for you to adjust to the core system. And so really quick, for those of you who are not familiar with the Zoom webinar, we cannot see or hear you. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A box down at the bottom of your Zoom page where you can post your questions anonymously. And so throughout the session, we will be trying to answer some questions on the back end. And if we don't answer your question right away, we will have some time at the end of the session to get those answered for you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen and then share our actual presentation for today. Okay, can you all see the screen? Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and pass it over.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie Thatch-Morshed. I am here presenting with Marie. We will be introducing ourselves and our units in a little bit, but we are happy to be talking about how to adjust to the quarter system because it's very different than what you are coming from, which is, I'm pretty sure everybody's coming from the semester system, right? So next, please. So I'll talk about my unit first. So again, my name is Maggie Thatch-Morshed. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the humanities lead of the academic resources communities at OASIS. So OASIS is a unit that houses a lot of programs that are designed to support particularly student populations that identify as first gen, low income, or otherwise marginalized from marginalized communities. And at OASIS, we have my program that supports writing, which is called Language Arts Tutorial Services, called LATS, but also Math and Science Tutorial Services program. And then
hi, everyone. My name is Marie Shear, pronouns she, her, hers. I am the Associate Director at Academic Achievement Services at the Teaching and Learning Commons. Similar to OASIS, the Teaching and Learning Commons has two main components, helping support teachers in their teaching and learners in their learning, coming together for a common unit. So our name is pretty self-explanatory. But I am on the learning side, which is really going to be helping students gain experiences inside and outside of the classroom that will help enhance their learning. Specifically, what my area does, or what our team does, is have peer educators that help students through historically difficult courses. So a lot of the work that we do with OASIS has a lot of overlap, and the reason being for it is that it is a huge, huge undertaking at this massive university to help students in their academics. And so the more the merrier. So both of our departments really, really work very closely together and very strongly in collaboration with one another in terms of how can we help students be successful when they get here. And so very much so looking forward to this presentation, because I'm sure as many of you all experienced this. I was a semester system student, and then I came to work at UC San Diego, and it was my first interaction with the quarter system. And even as a staff member, it's a massive, massive change. So I'm glad that we're able to chat through it today with you all.
yeah, and we're both here representing our units because we know that a lot of students ask what's the difference between OASIS and the Teaching and Learning Commons. And it's always good to have different options and like where you feel most comfortable as a student, as a learner. So all of us, Triton Transfer Hub, Teaching and Learning Commons, OASIS, we're very mindful about intentionality. So we're just going to take a couple moments to read this to ourselves before we get into the topic. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, before we get started, let me ask you a question. Hopefully you can put answers in the chat. This is the part of the webinar where we want this to be a little more interactive. So if you could post your answers in the chat, I'm going to pose two questions. What was particularly challenging about time management at your previous institution, and how did you handle those challenges? So take a moment to think about those questions, and please put your answer in the chat, and Marie and I will go through it, and we'll go off of that. Sam, are we able to see students putting their answers in the chat?
I see one just came in.
Okay.
So it looks like there's some coming in the Q&A and
Okay,
some coming in through the chat. So both work. I see here too much homework, forget projects. Absolutely. The system and methods are different, but for me, who's a new student, I'm solving this problem through consultants. Let's see, balancing studying appointments with counseling were limited. So I love the sort of inclusion in here of this this term of balance when it comes to your studying and sort of having a lot on your plate, right? When we look at our plate as a student, there's going to be a lot of components that are on there. And so when it comes to having kind of too much or too little on our plate can help determine how we're managing our time. Thank you for sharing.
So I'm sure that you all already have your ways of handling those challenges, right? Maybe you have an alarm on your phone. Maybe you have a bullet journal that you go through. Maybe you have a planner. So what we plan to discuss in the next few in our webinar is how do we build off of those? So next slide, please. So we want to build on what you already do, no matter what that is, right? And we want to give you like a pretty specific way to think about how to manage your time. So it requires 3 steps. prioritize, work backwards, and put your schedule together. I would say the hardest thing about adjusting to the quarter system is how fast it goes. Marie, you could even talk about, even as a staff member, what the transition was like. But the quickness of the quarter, sometimes it feels like you just get settled in and you're already halfway through. Marie, I'm wondering what your challenges have been just in your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to sort of, when I think about time management, think about a lot of times we hear work-life balance, right? As if work is here and life is here, or school is here and life is here, and those are two competing things. And one is giving, one is taking on this balance. But sort of the way that I like to think of it instead is almost like this 6 or 7 part scale, right? Where it has all these different plates. So you have your student plate, you have your social plate, you have your occupational, maybe work plate, you have your spiritual plate, you have your physical plate, you have all these different areas of your life that you want to prioritize and you want to dedicate time to. But the moment that you start adding more time there, something's got to give somewhere else. And as a student, particularly in the quarter system, as a staff member in the quarter system, I think that you just find that balancing scale moves a lot more than in the semester system. So maybe one day you can dedicate more time to your learner plate, and you can really dive in on a hobby or a craft or whatever it may be. And then another day you find that you have an upcoming deadline, and so you have to reshift focus and go back to that deadline that would fill more of your intellectual, your occupational plate, whatever it may be. And I think as a student within the quarter system, you can find that being the case, right? Sort of your pacing of balancing all these different plates in your life is just needing to be managed more. So really today's presentation, and I'm so happy that we're able to share it with you all, is just really tangible ways on how to do that. So when it comes to the semester system, you have a lot more flexibility in your time, I think, just because the quarters are 15 weeks long. You have a little bit more flexibility in terms of your pacing of the semester. The quarter system kind of forces you to manage your time a little bit more. So pros and cons to that. But that's a little bit of my perspective in framing this conversation today.
Can we do the next slide, please?
Mm-hmm.
So I really like this visualization of the difference between the semester system and the quarter system. So what I think is crazy is that like a whole other quarter is fit in. It's one thing to be like, oh, quarters are just a little bit shorter than semester system. It's like, no, a whole other quarter gets squeezed in to like 2 semesters versus 3 quarters. Next slide, please. So what this could shake out to is like, these are very possible ways that your quarter could go. So this is what I mean by like, sometimes you feel like you're just settling in and then you have a midterm. Like if you look at the middle table here, like you're like, oh yeah, I just started school. It's great. I just got a schedule, or I just got a routine down, and then bam, there's a midterm. Or it's looking like the third table where it's like quiz immediately, quiz, midterm, quiz, midterm. So you can see how not only is everything like squeezed in a smaller amount of time, but it's a lot coming at you. And what I hear from a lot of transfer students is that I feel like I have to squeeze 4 years into 2 years. So for transfer students, they're already feeling that pressure, right? Of like squeezing a lot into a little. Then you go from a semester system to a quarter system, which honestly does feel like fitting 15 weeks worth of content into 10 weeks. So what can we do to manage this? How can we feel more in control? Because that's why we feel so overwhelmed, right? Everything feels out of our control. We don't have enough time. Okay, next slide, please. So going back to those 3 steps, we want to prioritize, work backwards, and then put your schedule together. So when we think of priorities, this is what I want you to think about. What are your non-negotiables? things that you like, you absolutely need that in your life. So things that you don't really think about, even like, okay, say you're a commuter. You need an hour and 45 minutes to commute every day. That's a non-negotiable. You just need that time to travel, right? So plan that into your day. I think other non-negotiables is what is needed for your physical health, what is needed for your mental health. So like I hear this more often than I would like. Students just forget to eat. They're just like, I just forgot to eat today. Or they're like, like they don't get to exercise as much as they want to, or they just don't have like time to like calm down, they don't have time to like replenish. So what I want you to think about when we say priorities is like, what is non-negotiable? What do you need for your physical and mental health? Don't neglect those things. So once you know what your priorities are, then you can work backwards from those priorities, right? And what I mean working backwards is, the syllabus that you get at the beginning of the quarter, sometimes you look at them as just like, just something we all get. You kind of skim through it. You don't really refer back to it. But that is so important because it's telling you important dates, right? So whatever that deadline is, work backwards from there. If you know that you need this amount of time for commuting, if you know you need this amount of time for writing a paper, if you know you need this amount of time to study for your bio class, then work backwards from that deadline so that you're giving yourself plenty of time. And then put it in your schedule. So whatever that means, a physical planner or an online tool. Next, please. So talking about like non-negotiables. So maybe you have, school, you have your job, maybe you're doing a volunteer experience, but you might have a bunch of other things too. That's the beauty of this school, I think, is there's so many opportunities available to you. And again, what I hear from transfer students is they feel so overwhelmed with all the opportunities. But again, it's like prioritize. What do you need in your life? So we know school's a big priority, right? A job, that could be a priority too. You have to absolutely work. But everything else, like plan out your priorities and list them out. So again, what are the deadlines? What is required? How much time will it take to finish a task? I can't stress enough how important it is to like get your priorities straight. I know we hear that a lot, but like to actually put this into practice, because once we figure out our priorities, then we can figure out like what our day looks like, what our week looks like, what our quarter looks like. So next slide, please. So here are some just suggestions on things that you can use. So again, I'm sure you are already using a way to manage your time, right? Like you got through community college, you're here, you are successful in managing your time in some kind of way. But what is important is you have to kind of shift your mindset from that semester system to that quarter system. What worked in the semester system, it might work on the quarter system, but it might not. So you have to be adaptable enough, flexible enough to make something else work. So some of these that I'm showing here are examples of ways you can be more organized. So next slide, please. So here's what I like about these tools, these calendaring tools. You can have really big picture, like the quarter at a glance, like this is what my quarter looks like, here are all my deadlines. And then you can have something like more granular, like on the day-to-day, hour to hour. Whatever works for you, lean into that, right? Like if you're someone like, no, I don't need the hour by hour, that's actually really overwhelming for me. I just need to know generally what my big deadlines are. Or if you're like, no, if I don't plan out my day hour by hour, I won't get it done. Whatever works for you, lean into that. It's just that you want to be the one controlling your time. You don't want the time controlling you. You don't want to feel like swept up in the quarter system. Okay.
And one thing
go ahead, Marie.
Really quickly, one thing that I will just add to this as well. So something that when I was a college student, I really struggled with was motivation. So I was always like, oh, well, I need to be in the mood to study. I need to be in the mood to tackle this assignment. I need to be in the right headspace. And while I want to acknowledge that that's a very real feeling, similar to, physical exercise, you're not always motivated to go to the gym every day. You're not always motivated to move your body. But it's important for your health to regularly check in on your physical health. So what I would recommend is if you are the type of person who generally waits for motivation to come before you start a task or before you start studying, really encouraging you to try and get started anyways and see if the motivation comes once you get started, because sometimes the hardest part is just getting started. So if you see that starting Monday at, that 10 to 11 block you want to study and motivation isn't there, maybe open up the book and for a few minutes and start diving in and see if the motivation comes just by getting started. So that would be my one piece of advice, as well as you are also, looking at this and checking in routinely with your academics and with yourself, is, where does motivation come from and how can you create good habits without necessarily needing the motivation to be there.
Absolutely. I think this is like overlooked, but you definitely need like a ritual, like what do you need to start studying? Maybe it's like, I need to have a coffee, I need to have water, I need to have like my like favorite fuzzy socks on, I need my favorite sweatshirt on. Like sometimes you have to like trick your brain into getting motivated, right? And I think what's hard about the quarter system is that you don't have a lot of time to figure out what's going to motivate you. So like, do these things that put you in the mindset to want to study or want to work out or want to sleep or whatever. Being like doing those rituals are a way of having control and managing your time the way that you want. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're talking about time management. I am someone who, my area of expertise is writing. So I want to give you like really concrete strategy when it comes to writing and time management. So it's really important to know the purpose in writing, right? So before we get started, can we go back? Can we go back? So before we get started, can I see in the chat, how do you all feel about academic writing? You can just use one word adjective, you can just say like great, amazing, creative, or terrible, overwhelmed, whatever the adjective is for you. If you could just put it in the chat so I can get a feel of how you all feel toward academic writing. Good, terrified, comfortable. Okay, that's good. Good, stressful, enjoyable, takes a lot of time. Absolutely. Formulaic and fun when it comes together. Nightmare, comfortable. Okay, this is a mix. Okay, most time consuming. Forced. Okay, draining. I always love that there are some people who like really enjoy it, but honestly, for the most part, people find it to be a chore, right? People find it to be like a bunch of hoops you have to jump through, like vague, like you don't know exactly where to start. This is all true. Next slide, please. So what I want to really relay about good academic writing is good academic writing comes from revising bad academic writing over and over again. So go back, please. Yes, here. So what this means is that you need to plan out the time to revise. I know that's something that maybe in high school you didn't do, at your community college you didn't do. You were just able to like pump out writing, and that's great. I think that provides a really great foundation. But in college or at UCSD, the writing that you're asked to do is going to require multiple drafts, is going to require like a process. So I think it's that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation now, because we want to prep you for that mindset already. Like, don't think that you can write something in 2 days, right? A lot of writing assignments here at UCSD are designed to help you like build up to a bigger paper. But if you're like procrastinating, you're not doing those smaller assignments, then that big assignment gets really overwhelming, and then you don't have the time to put like your full effort into it. Next, please. So how many of you used or still use the 5-paragraph essay format in your academic writing assignments? Yes, Marie. Absolutely. Yes, a lot, like this is familiar to people, right? It should be familiar to people. This is how mostly in the United States we are learned to write in high school, right? Next slide, please. So it looks something like this, right? The intro, you give background, you state your thesis, then you have 3 body paragraphs. Each body paragraph has a topic sentence, quote evidence, analysis, repeat, and then conclusion, you summarize, and then you restate the thesis, and then that's it. Great, 5 paragraphs. Some people can do this in 30 minutes, right? Some people can just knock this out. Another way of looking at this is, next slide, please. Another way of thinking about this is you have your thesis, right? And then you have your body paragraphs, and all of your body paragraphs support the thesis, right? So you have something like apples are the best fruit, and every body paragraph just supports this thesis, right? That's 5-paragraph structure, really straightforward. But in college, you're being asked to do more work, to think more deeply. So in college, this is how you're being asked to write. Next slide, please. So in college, you'll be invited to explore new, more interesting types of relationships. So in college, you most likely will have a thesis, right? And you don't have body paragraphs, but you have main ideas. So main idea number 1 is going to support the thesis. Then you have another main idea. It's going to complicate the idea before it. You have main idea number 3. It's going to challenge main idea number 1. You come in with a 4th main idea. It's going to expand main idea number 3. And then the last main idea qualifies main idea number 4. What I'm trying to get at is that support is not the only relationship. That's the most straightforward relationship, right? But what you're being asked to do in college is like think more deeply and give ideas and how they interact with each other. So the relationships are much more nuanced than what you're used to writing in high school or at your community college. So why I'm trying to draw your attention to this is because if you're stuck in that 5-paragraph structure writing, then this type of writing that you're going to be asked to do, you're going to feel super frustrated because maybe you're going to be like, oh, I'm a good writer. Why am I struggling in my MMW course or my doc course, right? So I want you to transition into thinking like, oh, okay, I'm going to be asked to write in a different way. So don't get stuck in that 5-paragraph structure. You have to be willing to adapt. And based on, I know that all of you are going to be in different colleges, right? The different colleges require different writing requirements. So depending on what college, they're going to ask you different things. But 5-paragraph structure is just the beginning. And I'm not trying to villainize 5-paragraph structure. It's a really good foundation. But at the college level, at this college, you're being asked to do something more. So be prepared to have that mindset shift and not be stuck in the old way of writing. That's just one way to write. You're being asked to write in a whole different way. Next, please. Okay, so how does this information help as you prepare for writing at UCSD? So you have to give yourself some grace. So anticipate that a transition time is needed and that you will need to adjust to what it means to write on this campus. So don't be so hard on yourself, but grace comes with more time. If you give yourself the time, then grace comes more easily, right? So if you know that, okay, I have something due in week 5 and I'm going to give myself a ton of time to brainstorm, and you start in week 2, right? So if you are able to start earlier, you're able to give yourself more grace. And knowing the context and the purpose of writing is going to be really helpful as well. Again, you're not going to have a lot of time to just like sit and be creative with your writing. You're going to be asked pretty quickly to like produce, right? To start writing, to start thinking. So we really have to know the context of the writing assignment and the purpose of the writing assignment. Sometimes you'll do a reflection. Sometimes you're asked to do a research paper. Sometimes you're asked to do a abstract, an analysis paper, argumentative paper. All of these things have a different purpose. And if you know what the purpose is, then you can kind of cut out that time that you take to like kind of meander around and try to figure out a topic if you know that, oh, I have an argumentative paper, but you can get straight to the point. At this point, we're going to transition over to Marie, and Marie's going to talk about STEM and learning in STEM.
Thank you so much, Maggie. So today we are going to talk about sort of in this portion, how to be successful learning in STEM. STEM, typically we mean our science, technology, engineering, math courses. At UC San Diego, most often we generalize this to engineering, mathematics, science, physics, economics. A lot of classes that a lot of students have to take as part of their academic degree plan, but can be historically challenging for a lot of students. And so really the key word that I want to drive home today as best as possible is this word consistency. And I'll give a personal example of what I mean by this. So I was the kind of student, I loved math. It made a lot of sense to me. It was just one of those areas where I felt like my brain really, really clicked. Science, not so much, but math, that was one that I really, really locked into. And I was in a major that I didn't have to take math when I was at college. So I was, really involved with it for my K through 12. And then I got to college, had no interaction with it whatsoever. And then when I was applying to grad school, I had to take the GMAT, the GRE. And a part of that is taking mathematics as part of it, or having some sort of math similar to like the SAT or the ACT. And I did not remember anything, not one single thing, because it had been so long since I'd interacted with this material. And I was so frustrated at myself because I was like, I had so much of this worth in my identity that was tied to being a strong math learner. And here I was struggling with algebra when it came to this test later for graduate school. And so one of the key characteristics that we really want to drive home today is consistency. So having often and consistent interactions with the course material, so that way you can build off the concepts that you know. And so the first question before we get started even diving into this a little bit more, if we can jump to the next slide, is what preconceptions do you have about learning for STEM? So I'll give sort of as an example, as you all are putting in the chat, your answers to this question, was a preconception that I had about learning for STEM are just some people are good at math and others are not. And that is just the way the world works. So I had a really binary mindset when it came to some people are good at this and some people are not, and there's just no way to get out of it. Had the same vision for science as well. And I was like, I'm not good at it. I just know I'm going to be in this camp rather than being in the camp that this clicks right away. And so I see in the chat here, some different preconceptions. So someone had a similar one. Tough, I see, is a word that's written here. Absolutely. We see a lot of students who would define that the same way. A lot of math, political science data scientists, and worry about struggling in STEM classes. It's a very understandable feeling. A lot of students feel that way. I think that there is often a narrative about students who are gifted in certain STEM subjects, and it oftentimes we drive a lot of worth from it. I was a student who was that same way. And so really wanting to graduate from that mindset and know that you all already have the skills and the assets needed to be successful in these courses is just pulling off of those foundations that you already have. And so the ways in which that we can do that are going to be by having that consistency with the course material. And so if we move to the next slide, question, how do you study for STEM-based courses? On a very rudimentary level, we can go back, thank you so much. Build off of what you do know. So again, I'll give the example in math. If you're wanting to do multivariable calculus, that can be a very, very daunting thought of how do I even begin studying for that. But if you go back all the way, what do you know? You know how to add, you know how to subtract. Maybe you can build off that. You know your order of operations, you know your geometry, whatever it may be, to build you to where it is that you need to know, that you need to be. So really identifying the areas that you do know and then building off of there is going to be a great way to begin. And then building up what you do know often and consistently. So again, as we were sort of relating this to the quarter system can be very fast paced. And so a lot of times in the semester system, you have a little bit more luxury in terms of you can spend a couple days not interacting with a particular course because you have the gift of time. The quarter system doesn't always give you the gift of time, but that kind of works in your favor in some ways because it forces your hand to really interact with the material consistently. One of the things that we like to talk about in the Commons is relating your academic support kind of to how you operate with your health, right? So being proactive in your health, taking your multivitamin, engaging in some form of physical exercise, drinking water, eating fruits and vegetables. These are things that are going to help your immune system, help you be a stronger, more healthy person. But if you don't take care of yourself in that way, then you have more reactive medicine, right? So then you wait until you get sick before you start prioritizing all those things. And the same can be said for your academics. And so we really, really want you to interact with the material as consistently and as often as possible. So that way you're not having to, relearn how to ride a bike every single time that you're getting on and learning this material. We can move to the next slide. What else can support you in your learning? And this is probably the most important in my personal opinion, which is learning in community, which is what we do in OASIS as well as at the Teaching and Learning Commons, is we really, really want you to learn from and with your peers. So that peer educator mindset, we are all here to help one another. We are all each other's teammates on this campus. Everyone who is in your class, I hope that you can look to as your teammate and your buddy to help you in your academics, particularly in these classes. And so find your partner, find your community that is going to help bolster you up, not only when it comes to, your asking questions, but really in gaining in your confidence as well. So that way you can have sort of that support system that can help you learn the material and feel like you have the self-efficacy, the self-confidence to be able to achieve your goal, whatever that may be, whatever you have identified that as. And so moving into the next slide, we can give some shameless plugs to ways that you can build that community within some of your classes. So I can speak to the Commons. We through writing, supplemental instruction, and tutoring. I'll really quickly, because supplemental instruction is a bit unique to the college setting. It is where basically outside of lecture, you have students who host study sessions that are directly tied to the course lecture that you have been a part of. So general tutoring, a lot of times it's you have a question about a particular concept, you come to the tutor, and then they're able to help you master that concept through similar work and help you with your problem solving. Whereas SI is a bit more of a predetermined session plan that is based off of your course lecture. So a little bit different in that regard. But at the Commons, we have SI tutoring as well as writing support with learning in small groups, as well as individual tutoring available. And I'll pass it off to Maggie.
Yes, thank you. So at OASIS, like I said, we have the same goals as the Teaching and Learning Commons, but OASIS has a history of helping student populations from those marginalized communities. So we also truly believe in learning in community and using community to empower and give students agency in their learning. So with MSDP, which stands for Math and Science Tutorial Program, you will find support for math and science courses. With LATS, we offer one-on-one writing support. But what makes us unique too is that we offer writing support in for things like scholarship essays, personal statements, study abroad. The thing about, being on a campus like ours is that there are so many opportunities, and transfer students have told me that they just feel so overwhelmed with how many opportunities they have. And these opportunities of going abroad or applying for a scholarship, all of them have one thing in common, which is you have to write something for it. You have to state why you should get this scholarship. You have to state why you want to go abroad. And so we help with those things as well. Even with like cover letters and resumes, we can help students like navigate through that. So those are resources that we offer at Oasis. But also, like, being an advocate for your own learning encompasses more than just seeking out resources on campus, right? There are plenty of resources on campus, but also like your friends, your peers, because they can be accountability partners for you. There are other things that you can learn from, like old exams or online practice examples, or even YouTube. Also, like, I think we had talked about this before, like lean into what's natural for you. Like, I'm a night owl. I study best at night, or I don't study anymore because now I'm old. I just like, but if I'm like trying to write or I'm trying to read, like I think best at night. So I do that at night, right? And so learn your other, find out your other learning styles. Are you an audible learner? Are you a visual learner? Are you a kinesthetic learner? Meaning like you need to walk around to get something to get in your head, right? Lean into what makes you the learner that you are, because that is an asset. That's something you shouldn't feel like, oh, this is the one way to be a good student here on this campus. Office hours, please utilize office hours. You know, my husband is an instructor in Muir. He's a writing instructor in Muir, and he has office hours all the time. You know how many people go to office hours? Like very few people go to office hours. And I think that's because a lot of students are like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And I don't know if it makes me look like I'm not, you know, following along in the class. I think sometimes going to office hours and just being like, you know, I did the reading and I did the assignment. I'm not quite seeing how it's aligning with the course objectives. Can you help me see that connection? Something like that opens the door for not only your learning, but also it makes the instructor, the TA, whoever, remember you, right? And you're asking a question in a way that shows that you're engaged and you're there to learn, and there's a block and you're seeking out help. I guarantee you that that's going to be looked upon favorably. Nobody's going to be like, you don't get it? Well, sorry, you know, nobody's going to do that. But I think there's that block that keeps students from going to office hours. And if you want, like, bring somebody with you for moral support. I know that sounds silly, but sometimes you need it, right? I know that in college, I was painfully shy. I did not want to raise my hand. I did not want to speak up in class. But if I had somebody kind of like egging me on, I would probably do these things and seek out resources. So there are so many things that you can do to be an advocate for your own learning. And this is just the reminder to, you know, like, go in strong, like hit the ground running, know that there are so many resources available to you.
And one resource that is not on here, but has been, I feel like, emerging in my life very much so recently, is generative AI platform. So something like ChatGPT to help support you in your learning. And what I really, really want to acknowledge, and this kind of speaks to what Maggie just said, it can be very daunting to go to your professor and be like, I don't understand. I don't know. You know, that's a really vulnerable task to do. It's a lot easier to ask a robot. And so, but with that being said, there are, you know, there's a lot of benefits to using a generative AI platform, but what I really want to encourage you all is to lean into your voice, to lean into your authentic voice, and know that you are more than capable of being successful in your coursework. You are more than capable of being, having your own used voice in your writing, that is perfect just as you are. The second thing that I'll add to it is there's a reason why we hire peer educators in our areas. There's a reason why we hire current undergraduate UC San Diego students, and that is because the ChatGPT, as amazing as it is for, you know, certain areas of learning, that system doesn't know what it's like to sit in a Gen Chem class in Muir Hall or, you know, whatever classroom on campus, and to feel the weight of the syllabus coming at them on the first day. our peer educators do. And so when it comes to your resources, as much and as enticing as it is to go to these sources that can't give you judgment, or that don't necessarily stoke maybe a fear that you have in yourself as a learner, I really want to encourage you all to utilize our services and to utilize our peer educators and to utilize our professors here on campus in their office hours, because we are all advocates and partners for your success. We have a vested interest in wanting you to be successful while you're here. And so, as enticing as a resource that is, and I don't judge anyone for using it, because in many ways, I didn't even have YouTube when I was in college. But with that being said, lean into the resources that the university has really invested in for your success. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Absolutely. Next slide, please. So just wanted to, again, like Marie said, shamelessly plug our programming for the fall. So at LATS, we have community write-ins. That's just like we reserve a space and we have 2 tutors there, and you can just come in with your friends or by yourself and work on whatever it is you want to work on, whether that's a scholarship essay, personal statement, or writing for your course. What's nice is that you can ask the tutor, hey, can you help me with this? Then they give you some time to work on it, and then you're writing in community with other people. So what makes writing so miserable sometimes is that you feel all alone. You feel like you're the only one who doesn't get it. You feel like you're the only one who can't write. But when we're writing in community, then we give each other permission to, be creative. We have academic opportunities workshops. So a little bit ago, I talked about like all the endless opportunities there are on this campus to supplement your schooling, right? So study abroad, research opportunities. So these workshops introduce that academic opportunity and then help you write the personal statement or the written component of the application. We have one-on-one tutoring that's in person and online. And then we have, a plethora of workshops on things like resumes, cover letters, scholarship essays, and personal statements. Next slide, please. I also wanted to plug our math and science tutorial program. So like the Teaching and Learning Commons, it's also peer-led academic workshops. So there are STEM hands-on workshops where we implement academic principles into real-world applications. We have study skills workshops where we're giving you different strategies to learn how to think critically. There will also be drop-in tutoring where that takes place at the different campus resource centers, and also Math 3C study tables. Next slide.
Okay. So the next slide, I believe, will have offerings for the Teaching and Learning Commons, a lot of which I have already touched on. If we go to the next slide, I'm not sure if it's just lagging or there we go. Perfect. So we have individualized tutoring for all writing support, as well as tutoring for STEM courses. That list of courses that we support, because we target historically difficult courses, is subject to change based off of our different criteria. So please look on our website for the most accurate and up-to-date list of course offerings that we offer tutoring as well as SI support for. Again, SI, those are those small group study sessions that I alluded to earlier. And then we also have in-person and virtual options for all of our platforms. So all of our SI sessions have a virtual option as well as an in-person option, as well as our tutoring. We understand that folks maybe would thrive better in an in-person format, but then some folks, as we've learned in the past few years, thrive with the accessibility of a virtual platform. So we offer both within our services. We're a hybrid service department. And that is it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're just putting our emails up on here. Again, we're 2 different units, but we have the same goal. We're happy to answer any questions. I'm going to answer a couple that I see in the Q&A right now. One is, I see UCSD has a mentorship program, another great way to study and succeed. Just want to say, yeah, it's called Faculty Mentorship Program. And this is a program that matches you up with a faculty member, and they might show you like research opportunities. As you all know, UCSD is a research institution. So research is something that we definitely prioritize, and we have programs to help connect you to faculty who do research. The other question I see is, does OASIS have any requirements to participate in this program? No. I know we say that we strive to help that student population who come from marginalized communities, but we will turn nobody away, basically. Any other questions? Please feel free to put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm just putting up our attendance QR code for those of the folks who want to join the raffle, but please feel free to keep posting questions in the Q&A. I think Jackie, you had something you were going to mention for the quarter system too, is that right?
I just wanted to say, well, first of all, always great to hear from Marie and Maggie. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the holistic look at time management. It's so important. I also just wanted to give a shout out really quick in this room, especially because a lot of you who have been here have been to our other transfer talks. Some of you have been to our Red Talk, some of you were here for Transfers Connect. And because this is our last transfer talk, I just wanted to give it up to Tessa Benedict Phillip, who you've seen every single day in this office doing STEP with you all. Yes, there are 2 more steps left, right? The STEP welcome that's coming up and the getting involved in that transfer map process. All these are good things, but this is concluding our transfer talks, and we really could not have done this without Tessa. So when you all see her in the office, please give her all your love. Give her your love in the chat. Again, without her leadership and innovation, this wouldn't have happened. So I have to give a shout out, because Tessa, you would not do this for yourself. So way to go, Tessa. We really are grateful to you for everything you've done so far to support with STEP, this program.
Thank you. Always awkward when people talk about me, but thank you.
I know.
So I will carry on and say thank you, and that I have our chat open as well as our attendance going. We'll do our last spinny wheel of the summer, so just make sure that you're using either the QR code or the link to make sure that we can get you into our last and final raffle. And please feel free to still use that Q&A session. We'll stay on for just a couple minutes to make sure that we get our attendance out. And let me get that posted. I'm getting our wheel loaded up. Feel free to keep putting in suggestions there, or putting in your questions and putting in your poll results. I see those are still coming in. Thank you also, Sam. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so sorry. I was just going to say, I see a question in the Q&A as how much time should we give ourselves to find that balance for ourselves in adjusting to the quarter system? I love this question. I don't know that I have a real evidence-based answer for you. What I will say is not only give yourself time, but give yourself grace. So in your first quarter, absolutely give yourself that entire quarter to adjust. So not just that time of that quarter, but really also the grace in that quarter. It is an adjustment and it is a transition for everyone, and it is no indication of your ability of your performance in future quarters. And so I'll give the example. My very first quarter, or my first semester at the university that I went to, was my first one in terms of academic performance. Every semester I did better after that first one because it was a transition. It was a huge transition. I was a first-gen student, and I was like, well, what is happening? What is going on? And so with that being said, I don't know that I have a definitive answer when it comes to that, but I would just say to give yourself grace in addition to time to make that adjustment.
Absolutely. A thing just to bounce off of that too is the easier you take it on yourself that fall quarter, you'll reap the benefits later too, because it gives you a chance to build that community, and your GPA will look better for the things that you want to get involved in later. So the more gentle with yourself and focusing on your studies and doing the things you enjoy in fall, that's going to benefit you for the next 2 years. So absolutely, that's great advice. just for sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and get our spinning wheel. That doesn't mean we have to stop Q&A and start and do anything else. But here is our wheel of names, our last 3 of the year. Michael. Congrats, Michael. I'll send an email out this afternoon to get your mailing address, unless you'll be on campus soon. And congrats, Isaiah. You'll have one coming your way too. And our very last one of the summer, but not least, we have, who is left? Oh, Louise. Congrats, everybody. Keep an eye on your emails for those prizes. If you want to, I think we have a couple Q&As still going. What are all the resources? Oh, good question here. A great place to check for the resources that are available to you. On our website, we have a list. I'll go ahead and post that. I'll share screen to that one more time. And Sam's available to meet as soon as now. Friendly reminder, because I know a lot of folks think that Sam is one of our academic advisors. Sam can't necessarily help you with your class selection, which might be on your minds at this moment, but Sam is here to support with all things adjusting to the quarter system and pointing you to UCSD resources. So I'll just go ahead and share screen with our website and touch on those 2 resources before we head out. But folks, if you'd like, you're more than welcome to go. For those of you who said, where are all the resources that are available? I can't guarantee this is going to be every single one, but if you go to UCSD, transferstudents.ucsd.edu, resources, current students, we have them broken down by area. So this is a great link to go to talk about a lot of the things we've talked about this summer. And we hyperlink to all the different places. So this is one great place to go look. And then for meeting with Sam is going to be, if you go to contact and appointments, make an appointment with your academic support coordinator. Here are meetings with the wonderful Sam. I'll post links for both of those in the chat as well. And were there any other burning questions in the chat before I close us out? Alrighty. Well, I will go ahead and wrap us up for the summer. Oh, and thank you so much. I hope you can all make it to our welcome day on the 27th. We'll have barbecue and we'll be excited to see you all in person. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all.